Good morning or good night, depending on where you are in the world. And welcome to another interview of the Shield Dude on a Couch. I'm your host, Hector. And tonight I'm joined by uh, Daniel from the band Meatwound. They're about to release uh, in a few weeks their fourth album called Macho. And we're here all to talk about it. So, Daniel, how are you today?
I'm doing all right, feeling real macho.
Yeah, yeah, that's good to know. Uh, what do you do to feel real macho?
I'm checking the hotels for work and unpack my suitcase and toiletries and mundane things like that. Get the ironing board out and iron my shirts sometimes, that kind of thing.
You
Real
iron your shirts. I haven't. I've never been good at ironing shirts.
yeah,
So
I didn't really have a choice. I have to go in an office with a button-up shirt. It's all wrinkled. I just feel like my mom would be ashamed of me.
oh yeah, no, you don't want that. So for people that don't know Meat Wound, you guys play like a hardcore sludge type of like sound, and you've been around now for 10 years. This will be your 10 years as a
Somehow.
band.
Yeah, somehow.
So yeah, for people that don't know me, will tell us a little bit about the background of the band.
Um, I so how it started, I knew our guitarist. I worked with him. I met him back about 2010. I worked with him. Um, we kind of stayed in touch, and I don't know, maybe a few years later, I was doing another band at the time, and he lived in a house where they had shows on occasion. Not too many, but they had house shows sometimes. And I went to one night, and he was doing a band. He was playing guitar, and I think they had a bass player, but it was just instrumental, and they only had a few songs, and they were long, um, but they didn't have a singer. So after that show, I said, "Hey, do you guys want a singer?" So I offered my services, and he was like, "Yeah." So then I think we got together to actually practice at some point, and the bass player had just evaporated somehow. So it was him and Ross, our first drummer. So I was like, all right, well, show me some of the songs. I'll, play them on bass, I guess, and like try to sing. We started working on that. We only did a couple of practices like that, I think, with me playing bass and singing. And then I met Marty, our bass player now, the only bass player. And I said, hey, man, do you want to play bass in this band? And he's like, I mean, I never played bass before, but I'm sure I could. So I think more just for something to do or just to kind of see what would happen. He said yes. So yeah, so Marty started this is the first band he ever played bass in. But if you listen to the band, you can tell he probably was a guitarist at some point. But yeah, that's how the band started.
Yeah. So the good thing is that they took you out of bass duties, and you only need to concentrate on singing. Uh, so
Yes.
yeah, the sound of the album, it's abrasive at times, but it has like different elements to it. So I'm curious, like for you, when you were like getting into music, like what bands influence you, man?
Like now or in the beginning.
It can be now and from the beginning.
Probably in the very beginning when I first started playing in bands, it was mostly like punk stuff, um, like Japanese punk, like Confuse, but also stuff like Crass, Born Against, Conflict, and then it kind of became. Then it got into more like some of the more like the local bands to Tampa, like Asshuck and Scrog, um, and then Century Party. And we got and then I started doing my first band like whenever that was 96, 97 maybe. Um, Kind of took influence from like Inhumanity, Charles Bronson, stuff like that. But nowadays it's kind of, I don't know if I think about it influence, like if I think about other bands as much when we do Meatwound stuff, because it's just they write whatever songs they write. And if I hear something I don't like, or something that sounds like, if say like 90% of the song sounds good to me, and then some 10% part of it just kind of doesn't seem as good, or seems awkward, or like an awkward transition or something, I'll say something about it. I'll say like, hey, does this part sound kind of like it doesn't quite work that well? But typically they've kind of weeded out all that stuff by the time I even see the songs for the first time. But sometimes, sometimes they'll refine songs up to the end, but for the most part, they just kind of write the songs and they're already kind of edited and pared down to usually what I would think would be the best version of them already. So then I just figure out where to put vocals on it. Sometimes I'll ask them if like, do you hear me coming in at a certain part? Like, do you hear me coming in here or here? Or like, do you feel like this part should be left open, like not have any vocals here or not? So it's still kind of a collaborative effort, you know.
Okay, so the band as a whole, they bring the music, and so you listen to the music, and then you go with the lyrics. So you don't know what you're gonna be singing about until you listen to the music, and the music basically gives you the vibe of what you want to write about, or do you write and
Sometimes.
take written to with the music and make it flow, make it flow?
No, sometimes I tend to write stuff all the time. Maybe not whole songs at once, but if I get an idea, I'll just start writing it. I don't really keep the notebook with me as much like I used to. Now I just kind of write the stuff on my phone. I'll just write it in the notes on my phone. But I'll always just be writing sometimes I'll write a lot of stuff at once and then nothing for a couple months. Or when I'm doing long drives, sometimes I'll end up writing songs, but I just write ideas like until kind of get to a coherent idea that sort of makes sense all together. And then as they bring new songs in, I'll see if certain lines, if I hear like a chorus or something, or something I wrote feels like it makes sense on that song, I'll throw that in. But sometimes they'll show me a new song, or they're just starting to work on a song that's not finished, and that gives me ideas like at practice, and I'll just start writing lyrics then. I think that's kind of how I think that's how Mount Vermin came together. Like I think they showed that to me, and I got an idea for the chorus, and I wrote that, and then I just wrote the rest of the lyrics around that. So yeah, that wasn't Mount Vermin. I think I wrote that on the spot in practice, but a lot of the stuff I wrote, um, like Obese Variants, that was one I wrote like after practicing and like leaving Florida on the plane. I remember writing that one on a flight back to work somewhere. So yeah, there's a little bit of both.
Yeah, and Mount Bourbon is actually the lead single, and you have a music video for it, which is like a you're performing, and there's like different like moves in camera, like for a band like because for a band like Meatwound, like picking a single, it's funny because I read that's like that song Mount Burning is like the closest that you got to like that single sound. What do you think that is about that song?
But is that your opinion or mine?
No, that's what you wrote. That says wrote in the promo. No, I didn't write that.
Okay, I was like, was that our idea or yours? I think, yeah, I don't know if that just felt like the most traditional like song. Yeah, we all kind of, I don't know, we all kind of heard that as the first single.
I would say the most accessible, maybe.
Right. That's what I mean. If anything, because I don't know, sometimes what happens with this band is that I think when we hear songs, or when we hear the completed songs after the studio time and recording and whatnot, sometimes we hear different stuff in it, but other people do as well. Like songs will get compared to various bands. Same thing for us. Like I didn't really realize like the last half of that song, the last half of Mount Vermin, kind of sounds like it could be something like a quicksand song from the first record. I didn't notice that at first, but then like listening back to it now, I'm like, oh yeah, I definitely hear it now.
Oh, from the Sleep record.
Yeah, from Slip.
Yeah, but I love. I don't know if it sounded like Quicksand. I didn't. I love Quicksand, but yeah, uh,
Yeah,
maybe
same.
it. I don't know. Maybe it had like a style. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. It's just that one. Yeah, because it's you basically we could have picked something that was more either abrasive or maybe less less conventional to drop as the first single, but it kind of made sense. Like, well, let's do because initially we were talking about doing maybe two singles and then the release, and I was like, well, look, if we're gonna do, let's just do three and do like three different songs, so it kind of you get a feel for the different sounds on the record, and that's why the second single we decided to do Frank Stallone because it's very different than the stuff we had done in the past, but no, it still sounds like Meatwound to us. And then the third song, the third single, Europa, is more of a Meatwound kind of song.
yeah. Frank Stallone. Yeah, that's an interesting track. What's that one about? Because obviously Frank Stallone is not as famous as Sylvester Stallone.
Um, well, the lyrics are. I was gonna. I had the idea. I had the idea to write a song called Frank Stallone, but the idea for the lyrics was very different. So this song, the song originally had a different title, but in the studio, once we kind of started getting that song together and the lyrics were done or the vocals were done and everything, I was like, I think we can change the name of that. I think we're gonna call that one Frank Stallone. So the idea I had to write a song that was gonna be titled Frank Stallone. I didn't actually use those lyrics. It was just kind of like the song itself somehow sounds like Frank Stallone, the guy or the career somehow. Like something about it is like, no, I think this is the one that needs to be called Frank Stallone, whether the lyrics are go along with that or not. So sometimes we just be fucking around.
Yeah, I know, but yeah, you see that and it kind of stands out. So I was reading that this record, you took a while. You had rewrites, so it took a while to record. Like, tell me a little bit about the recording process for Macho.
We did demos. I think we didn't really. I don't think we demoed stuff before. I mean, the first record was going to be a demo, and then it just got released. And then Largo, I don't think we did demos for Largo. I don't remember doing any demos for Calero either. Um, but we decided this time we wanted to. So we did some demos at Atomic Audio, where we recorded Calero, and some of the stuff we were happy with, and some of it we weren't. Then, however many months later, maybe even a year later, we went and did demos at Candor, where we recorded Macho, and because those guys had met Ryan, that recorded the record, is putting the record out. Those guys had met Ryan, and he had reached out. He had said that he really wanted to record a record with us. So we went in there to do demos to kind of check out the studio. And it's like, I don't even, it's maybe a mile from Marty's house. It's a mile from like our bass player and guitarist's house, really, like maybe two. So it's just down the road, and we did the demos with him, and even just those live, like one take live demos sounded great. It sounded better than we expected. So they're like, yeah, this is a studio. This is the guy to go. This is the guy to go with to record. So that was part of it, and and I travel for work. So for the last, like, I think I left Tampa 4 years ago, I think. Yeah, it was like 2021. So a lot of the time it's been them writing songs without me around. Um, so I'm sure that kind of contributed to it. And our guitarist actually works with me now. Like he travels for work as well. So that slowed it down a little bit, but it was just, we all just have like day jobs and life stuff to deal with.
Yeah,
Sometimes songs will come together quickly, and then other times not so quickly. But yeah.
yeah, no, I totally can relate. Like when you have time, you do them. So on this album in particular, what was the? Did you have a song that was the more difficult to write? or maybe get the band, like more like musically or lyrically?
Yeah. The third single, Europa, was I don't know, it was necessarily difficult to write, but it was the one we had the longest. It was the one that was I had the most trouble with. Um, 'Cause sometimes I think I'll hear a vocal arrangement or delivery that might not necessarily be based on the music, or maybe it's what I'm hearing, like it's what I want to be on there. And I think that was what was happening with Europa, was I was trying to fit something on it that it didn't quite didn't quite match the timing of the riff, like the measure, that beat maybe. Um, and it was taking me a long time to internalize the beat of that song, to get on it. And like still to this, it's still like a little bit tricky to me. Like sometimes it's like, I mean, we had that issue with the old drummer, that sometimes he was very fluid and would go in and out of parts, sometimes kind of sneaky, where it wasn't just like a big accent and then the next part comes in. So not saying it's the drummer's fault at all. It's like some stuff is easier for me to follow than others. Sometimes sometimes this Caucasian body doesn't want to latch on to rhythms because it's not natural for us. But Europa was definitely a little bit of a struggle for me. But Marty wrote it, and I at some point I mean we were playing it a certain way for a couple of years, and then he decided that this whole middle section didn't need to be there, and we took that out, and it definitely streamlined the song. And from then on, it was like, okay, this is the song. But even all the way up to the recording, the final recording, I was still like, I had the verses down, and then like the in between part of the first two verses, I still wasn't quite sure of. I had like 80% of the song done, and even then, and yeah, so I had to do a couple of retakes on those vocals. But yeah, that was a song. I feel like that was the only one that we really that anybody struggled with necessarily.
Okay, okay, yeah, and so a song that I really like the closing track, Exodus MF.
Oh yeah.
I think that's a kind of chaotic. Tell me a little bit about that one.
Um, that was another one I remember. I think I might have written that one on the plane right after Obese Variants, honestly. Yeah, I wrote those lyrics. I wrote those. Yeah, I wrote those around the time I left Florida, and it's about leaving Florida. I was just I'm just not a very tropical guy. So living in Florida for like 40 years was difficult. Like I don't think I ever liked the sun. I still don't. Sunlight
Yeah.
was this fire wears me out. Like I probably should have been born in, I don't know, Norway, Alaska, something like that. Probably would have made more sense for me. But instead I was born in Florida. So yeah, Exodus is, yeah, it's about Florida and how hot and unruly it is, and getting
It,
out of it.
it is hot, and I live in Puerto Rico. In Puerto Rico, it's hot too, but even though it's hot here, the problem with Florida, it's that it's all fucking flat.
Yeah.
And by the way, that's a problem because you can't find shade anywhere. At least here in Puerto Rico, there's mountains, and there's
Mhm.
like the sun can. There's more shade, and the mountains keep like more air. But Florida being so flat, it's like you can't escape the fucking sun.
Yeah, and like I mean, being in, I've worked in Puerto Rico a couple times and been there for trips on my own a few times, and it's like the inverse. It's like Florida, but it's the temperature will be lower, but the humidity will be higher. So if it'll feel like it's not as hot. You'll be in Florida, it'll be like feels like temperature is 100 and the humidity is high, but not as high. And you go to Puerto Rico and it's like feels like temperature is like 83, but the humidity is almost 100%, and it kind of makes it a little more tolerable to me. I mean, the times that I've been there, and like yeah, I mean, I've been in Puerto Rico like different times of the year, like the dead of summer, then
Oh,
December, springtime. So it's like I would still prefer that climate to Florida's.
yeah. I used to live in Miami, Florida, and I hated it.
Oh, same. I also lived in Miami, and I won't say I hated it, but it didn't feel it wasn't it didn't feel like Miami is kind of like, to me, Miami is kind of like Florida is to the rest of the country. Like if you're from Florida and you grew up there, all of that stuff about Florida makes sense to you just because you've been around it. And Miami is kind of like a smaller version of that. Like if you grew up in Miami, all that stuff makes sense to you. Like the way people interact and the whole vibe of it makes sense because you grew up with that. But I didn't, and I was like, man, this is I'm gonna feel like a kid coming in from the farm or something living in Miami.
No, I would imagine. Yeah. So yeah, that's a cool song. So it's about escaping Florida.
Oh,
Uh, so, so Florida people, don't be mad. He actually was born in Florida, so you can you can actually complain about
yeah,
where you
it's
were.
like talking bad about your family. It's like you're allowed to do it.
You are allowed to do it. So let's talk about the artwork for the record. I'm gonna show uh, once. Okay, here because I just love the name Macho. So tell me a
So do we.
tell me a little bit about this artwork and what we're seeing here.
Well, that looks like well, what I've discovered from looking at the colors of this thing is that depending if you have depending which file type you have of it, it makes if you open it in certain things, it will make the color more like magenta, like
Mhm.
this. Um, which is probably me being not a super experienced graphic designer, if you will. Um, so yeah, I remember when we first sent this out, and when the label went to put it on the website in the web store, I was like, why does this look magenta, not pink? And it ended up being something about the CMYK and RGB file file types of Photoshop or whatever, depending how what color profile or whatever you use it as, because when he would add every time he would add it to the web store, it would turn it into this color. um yeah, long story short, I did the artwork under the direction of basically Marty and the rest of the band. Like they wanted to be pink, and that was kind of the only directive. Like we wanted to just be pink, and like we wanted to say Macho really big on it, and that was kind of what I had to work with. um the image in the background was something that our guitarist sent to the group chat, which eventually somebody might recognize what it is. And if they do, send them like a free copy or whatever. And if not, don't worry about it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know if it's
it,
like if they're like silhouette of women or their ears. I can't tell.
somebody will, somebody will maybe do a reverse image search on it and figure it out. Um, but yeah, I just took the image that he sent. I think I tracked it down on the internet and found like the best resolution uh, version of it, and then I ran it through Photoshop, tried some different colors, ran it by the showed basically did some mock-ups and showed it to the guys, and then Marty and I I had a laptop over at his house, and I was just cycling through fonts and like different fonts, different effects, trying to figure out like it was one of those things where it's kind of like I don't know exactly what I want, but I'll know it when I see it. So I was just like trying to cycle through things as quickly as I could to see like what worked. And this font is one that I found while I was looking for something else, and I was on one of those free font download sites, and I was just like looking for something else, and I saw this one, and I was like, I'll take that one too. So I saved it. Yeah, and then I don't know where the idea for the green came from, but I put it on there, and it looked like it made sense somehow.
Maybe to contrast the pink.
Yeah, yeah, it's a nice contrast. We just I think we're the actually the LP jackets are have been printed. I think we're going to pick those up Friday. but we got those. We were able to get those printed in Gainesville because we got them printed locally in Florida, which is good. Most of the time, you got to you do that stuff. Even local printers will outsource that stuff to like Ross Ellis in Canada or whatever. So it was nice to be able to print these in Florida and actually, for a pretty good price.
Nice. So it sounds so. Couchers, anyone that watches, if someone knows or has an idea, put it down in the comments. And what I'll do is like I can, if someone comments on what they think there is, I can send to you to see if someone gets it right.
Yes, if someone gets it right, we'll send them a record.
You heard it here. If you get right about the artwork, you'll get a record. Obviously, I'm not gonna participate, but whoever watches this video, like, yeah, that's a good. And I'll send them to you. And if someone has it right, uh, you can send them the record. So the record's coming out. I think it's on the 9th, right?
Yeah,
So the perfect Mother's Day gift.
exactly.
It's mother give Macho to the to the mothers. Yeah, so it's gonna be out pretty soon. Where can people pre-order the record?
You can pre-order it from the label at threatcollection.com. We have links for that on our Instagram page and everything. You can also get to all of that through. We made a website for just to do it, just to keep everything in one place. So you go to Meatwound. Yeah, I think it's just Meatwound.com. I don't know why anybody else would have Meatwound.com. So yeah, it was available. So I got it. And that's all you need in a band name is if you Google it, you want your band to be the thing that comes up first. So in that
Exactly.
sense, Meatwound is a success as a band name.
Yeah, and one of the I think the pink the variant for the vinyl is going to be pink, right?
Oh yeah. We got some pink shirts you can get. We got what else we got? I think they made some pink koozies. Um, pretty sure some pink stickers. Oh, we also have Macho scented candles. Also, you can get your very own Macho scented candle at threadcollection.com. It smells great. It's improved many people's lives. We sold like 7 of them. We sold 7 at the merch table the last weekend or the weekend before we played in Newport Richie. It was great. People couldn't believe it. They
Well, what's the
thought it was a joke. It's not
yes,
a joke. It's real and it smells great.
yeah. No, I saw that you had because I went to the Fred page and I saw I'm like, oh, they're selling candles. What is this like? What is the scent of
Oh,
the
it's a
meat?
surprise. It smells great.
The surprise. Okay.
It's, it smells
Oh,
sweet.
you know,
I'll tell you that. It smells sweet. It's not a joke
so
candle. And it's not like a cheap candle that you just order online and they put your logo on it. We went to actual candle makers for this.
oh, nice.
Quality goods.
I think you're like one of the first like hard rock or like bands in metal that would do candles. I gotta check that if there's more bands doing candles. But yeah, that's a good way like a good marketing tool.
Well,
Sells
some people aren't macho enough. And
some,
that's, now they can be.
yeah.
Get your house smelling macho and keep all
You
those
know,
foul odors
have
outside.
put Randy Macho Savage on the cover, but I don't know if you would have gotten like the maybe the rights to use his image on a cover. Because when I think of Macho, I think of Randy Macho Man Savage, who uh, uh, quick. I don't know if you know he had a rap album.
Oh, we know.
I'm going to talk about that album on my series. Is it that bad? At some point.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, no, our series is called "Is It That Bad," where we take out. But yeah, so I haven't never listened to it, but I'm going with low expectations.
Oh,
So
you should.
so
It's dude, it'll I mean, he tries it. He's a great motivational speaker. He tries to get you some confidence. Sometimes, sometimes his methods are questionable, but he tells you be a man.
yeah,
Be a man,
so
Hulk.
So once you put out the record in a few weeks, do you have some upcoming shows?
We're doing a record release show on May 10th in Tampa. And we're doing a show, we're doing a Reversal of Man reunion in Tampa also. I believe that's August 30th on a Saturday. And we got asked to do a show in St. Pete, I think at the beginning of August, but I don't I don't know if that's finalized yet. I mean, I'm sure the show is happening. I just don't know the details yet, like the venue and whatnot. But yeah, we have a couple shows
Okay.
coming up.
The album release is on the 10th. Where is that album release going to take place?
The that show is going to be at Deviant Libation in Tampa with Thunderclap, Seer, and Minnock, I believe.
Yeah, so sounds like it's gonna be a fun time. So, Daniel, I want to thank you for taking some time. I know you're traveling for work, and I'm glad we got to do this at least 1 week later. Thank you for rescheduling because I was going through an electricity crisis here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you got your power back, man.
Yeah, yes, we got our power back, and
I
I'm
know it's
glad
not the summer, but it's still, it still gets hot down there.
Oh, but they've already said that in the summertime there's gonna be some power going out because of I don't. It's fucked up, but whatever.
Hey, man,
But yeah,
I'm always ready to
yeah.
talk shit about politicians. Like, we know
Oh,
whose fault it
oh
is.
yeah, yeah. Politicians suck in every country. It
Mhm.
doesn't matter where from. Yeah, it's always bad. But the worst thing is for me not the politicians, but the people who like defend them who don't know them. I'm like, why the fuck are you defending someone that you know in real life? And like they defend some people like you think they're related or something, but
Oh
no.
yeah,
Uh,
you're like, that's
yeah,
not your friend, man. They don't care about you.
they don't care about. They
What was
don't care
your
about.
was the power grid? Was the power grid more stable before it was privatized or no?
The problem with the power grid here in Puerto Rico is that it's pretty old. But we had sometimes electricity gone out, but not this huge blackout where the whole island goes, where this private company came, and it's actually now worse.
Okay.
And it is worse right now than what it used to be. Like and that the grid needs a lot of maintenance and stuff, and they're like I don't know what's happening with the money, but like
Like they're
it's
charging you more for electricity, but the grid's getting worse.
worse because I remember growing up here. I don't remember the electricity going out as much as it goes out now. I remember it went out like when a hurricane came, but usually a hurricane would come and the electricity would go for like a week, independent of the hurricane, like a week and a half or tops 2 weeks, and then we would have electricity. But that's not the case anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, plus we had that huge hurricane Maria in 2017 that it was like the worst hurricane ever. So it really fucked up the whole power grid. But yeah, no, like we're living in an island. We should be solar. Like the sun here is all the
Yeah.
time. There's no need the solar power.
Yeah, the first time I went to Puerto Rico was the summer of 2018 for work, and there were still parts of the island that didn't have power almost a year
Oh yeah,
later. Like that was the day we left. I remember seeing on the newspaper, the day we left that the last house finally had power again after a year.
yeah. I was in Miami. I moved after the hurricane. I moved to Miami after that. But I came back. Uh, I came.
I I love Puerto Rico, man. Like I get it. I didn't grow up there obviously, but I understand. Like I mean, I wouldn't if I wasn't so averse to the climate most of the time. Like I thought of Puerto Rico as a good place to retire.
Yeah, no, it's a fun place. So yeah, so the Couchers Beat Woon album Macho out May the 9th. So if you like hardcore sludge with some like in your face aggressive music. You will check it out, and it's funny because it's very aggressive, and then you have the contrast of the pink. But I don't mind. I have pink shirts. I know there's metalheads. They're like, oh, they wear black all the time, but I like color. Like I like color shirts and stuff. I don't give a shit. But yeah, so it's being Daniel, it's been fun talking with you. So before I let you go, anything that you'd like to say to the people before we go?
Um, well, outside of just get yourself a Macho scented candle and keep an eye out for we'll probably do another candle in the fall, probably around a little Halloween type candle release. Maybe try to find some other dumb merchandise ideas we can do. But we like them to be functional. They really will make your house smell better. But we're trying to like find some more functional merch we can make. Like I don't know. I know that years back, the Locust made those compact mirrors, and everybody used to assume they were for doing drugs. But I mean, that's still a functional merch item to me. Like High on Fire made those little metal boxes also that you could put your drugs in. But I don't we don't really do drugs anymore, the band. So I don't know. Maybe you can keep buttons. We make a little case or something. You can keep like buttons in for your sewing kit or whatnot, since we don't do drugs anymore.
Or maybe for nostalgia factor, for so you can relive those moments when you
Yeah.
did drugs, but them.
You can take it to like the bathroom at the bar in Ybor and open it up and like move the buttons around in there, but then like close it and like just relive all those paranoid times when your heart was racing. You had all these business ideas and you had to tell your friends like immediately, I gotta tell you, got this business idea, like gotta get in on this with me. But yeah, we don't do that anymore.
Yeah. You know what? In Florida, I had a funny story of something that happened to me in Florida. When I was living in Florida, I went to a concert in Fort Lauderdale for a band called Fries, and I'm at the and this girl comes up to me, and first she asked me for weed, and I told her I don't have any. She's like, okay, and then she comes by me 10 minutes later, and then she asked me if I have some crack, and I looked at her like, if I didn't have, why the fuck would I have crack? Like, so she looked at me weird, and she's like, so you're completely sober? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, oh, weird, and she left. I don't know. I hope she found her. I don't know where she is, but I hope that girl found the drugs that she was looking for.
Girl, I hope you found that
So
crack you were after.
maybe I look like a drug dealer. I don't know, or something. But
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
that's my funny.
people ask me for cigarettes a lot, and I haven't smoked in years, but yeah,
Yeah, I have. I used to smoke, but years ago. But nobody asked me for cigarettes. But yeah, that's the only time I've been asked for.
just crack.
Well,
Drugs.
she thought I had crack if I didn't have weed. Like, like if I had, I think like it would be more possible that I had weed than crack. But whatever. But
Well, in
it was a
Florida,
funny.
you never know in Florida. In Florida would have been like, but you got meth, right? I mean,
You
I understand why you think I might, but no, I don't.
No, I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't. But I hope that girl, wherever she is, if you're watching this video, I hope you found your drugs. So, yeah, so Daniel, thanks again for taking some time to chat with me.
Mhm.
Uh, so, yeah, Couchers, Meatwound, Macho, May the 9th. So, I'll post the link for people who want to pre order. So, until next time, Couchers, this Hector, the Shield Dude on a Couch, and I'll see you all right here on the couch. Thank you and goodbye.